Previously on the Grown Up Geekcast.
So here's two questions. Number one, if Michelle Obama really wants to cut down on childhood obesity, shouldn't she be pushing a reboot of Guts?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Grown Up Geekcast. This week, we have a newcomer on the podcast. It's going to be Jared and Jason, myself, and Teresa, our lifestyle editor. In fact, Teresa is going to be joining us from now on, so you're going to get a whole new perspective on each episode. If you're interested, we are still starting our book club podcast in the near future, so I definitely recommend staying tuned to the website and our social media and our podcast for more details about that. And last but not least, please check us out on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on iTunes, Stitcher, and pretty much anywhere you go to get your podcast feeds. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, so we're just going to cut this short and say, here's this week's podcast. Enjoy.
I'm ready. Let's do this. Let's talk about United's apparently creepy phone app. Justin, you're the one who linked this in the first place, but so apparently United has this application available to all their flight attendants, or they're slowly rolling it out to all of their flight attendants. They're getting iPhone 6s, so good for them. But it has this application that has the information of all the passengers on the plane. We don't know the full extent of how much information it has, but we know it at least has their birthday and maybe some of the, like, what luggage they brought on or something. I don't know the details, but it just has all their flight details and some of their personal details. I think it mentioned maybe their address as well.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
And, I mean, it seems to have a certain level
They mentioned the address because apparently some people are saying that the reason they have the address is because they're trying to make it so that if you need to, like, rebook a flight that you missed for connecting, the flight attendant can do it instead of sending you to the gate. That's the logic behind that.
I guess I just don't see the problem. That's sort of like the thing. Like they said, somebody got really pissed off that they got wished a happy birthday. Name one time on your birthday that you were super pissed off because someone said, like, you were like, oh crap, I really wish nobody knew it was my birthday.
Don't you ever say happy birthday to me.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. Like, I get it that we want our information to be private, but if there's absolutely one time in the course of your daily, discourse that that nothing about you is private, it's when you're on an airplane. I mean, security.
Well, and here's, like, in our post Facebook age, like, this seems like big data, but just instead of, Google being like, hey, I see you have a trip coming up, it's a human being going, hey, I know it's your birthday. And maybe that's what makes it creepy, the fact that it's a person instead of just a computer screen, It's a human being with your information.
What's funny about what you just said is that, about Facebook, is that it reminded me a lot about when fancy hotels at one point tried to, like, really personalize service. And so they were, like, Facebook stalking their high-paying customers and trying to put pictures of, like, their kids and their pets in the rooms.
That's so creepy.
Right.
Oh, Mr. Smith, I see you have an affinity for Chinese prostitutes.
Right. But there were, like, some cases of hilarious mistaken identity where it was like, whose dog is this?
That would be amazing. You get to the hotel and it's got, like, pictures of someone else's family all over the room.
You would just make the general assumption that I would just be like, oh, that's how all picture frames are.
Right.
I would immediately assume I'm getting killed.
Like, there's a trail of pictures and then, like, all of a sudden there are, like, faces cut out as you get closer into the bedroom or whatever.
Right.
No, the only time I see this thing on the planes being a problem, like, because here's the thing, I think this is all super convenient. I would absolutely love it if somebody came up and was like, hey, you're not going to make your connecting flight, but I can fix that now. And the only time it would be a problem would be like, oh, hello, I see you're the air marshal on the flight.
Well, I'm pretty sure that would be it. Like, they wouldn't be allowed to say that, but I don't see why, like, anybody is ever upset about this stuff. I used to work at a large telecommunications company, and I had access to your social security number. So there's a lot more that you give away to companies than you realize. So I don't see why this is a big deal. Tons of companies, anything you sign up for, they have all this information on file about you. Who cares if a flight attendant has it on their cell phone? I don't know why it's allegedly creepy.
Well, I think, again, it just comes back to the fact that it's you look the person in the face who has your information, and they're like, I know everything about you.
Well, don't fly United. It's that simple. Just don't use it.
But that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. When you fly, when you buy your ticket, you have to provide so much information. Plus, when you go through security. Plus, when they check your baggage. Plus, so at what point do you think you have any privacy from the minute you get your boarding pass to the minute you land at your destination? I mean, you don't, and I don't mean that as like some big, like I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat, you know.
Well, no, I mean, legally you don't. You don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy in an airport. You can be searched without cause.
Yeah, so when you're on the plane, I don't know. I did see it says that they replace safety manuals. I'm hoping that just means like for the crew, because I happen to get enjoyment out of reading those little cardboard cards.
No, Justin, all the flight attendants are just going to pass around their iPhones, just like, all right, look through and pass it down. We'll collect them at the back of the plane. We know how many there are.
It better have Candy Crush on it. Also, does that mean now everyone gets to use their phones in the air? You don't have to turn off your phone anymore because the flight attendant gets to do it.
A lot of there are a number of airlines that have finally gotten over that nonsense and realized.
Wait. Can we just stop for a second and address that Jason just said what just happened?
I'm sorry, your audio freaked out at me for a second. I thought something bad happened.
Okay, I just for a minute I figured you were like tripping or something. We're still talking about this. And you're like, what just happened?
It just kicked in.
I shouldn't have taken that hit before we were recording.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that
Jared,
hit of I don't know, poor bandwidth.
It's all nonsense. The whole don't turn off your cell phones while it's taking off and stuff anyway. But there are a number of flights that have said like, hey, you can actually use your cell phone during flights. Not that big of a deal.
I know that there was an airline that was or a company that was testing out like actually being able to make phone calls on an airplane.
Yeah,
and,
I think before they went out of business, Southwest had cell phone service on some.
Southwest is still in business.
Yeah. God damn it! Well,
you're just predicting the future.
Jason, that's right.
What just happened? Southwest is still in business.
They're going down soon.
You hear that, Southwest?
Clearly, I'm thinking of a different airline. And clearly being able to call on your cell phone on the plane wasn't enough to save them.
Well, no, I just remember reading an article a while back about this company, not an airline. It was like a telecommunications company that invited a bunch of reporters on an airplane and was like, hey, we're trying out this technology, so please bring your cell phones and we're going to fly up to 30,000 feet. And then once we get there, we want you all to just try to make phone calls and see how it goes. And it didn't go very well because it was still kind of iffy, burgeoning technology at the point, but it was something they were trying to do. And I thought it was cool, but like I couldn't imagine anything more annoying than being stuck in a metal cylinder with like 100 other people all trying to make phone calls.
I guess the thing is, like, I wonder how different it is than being able to make phone calls from a ship, because my understanding of why you weren't allowed to do it was that it was going to like mess with the navigation system,
which is false.
Right, which is false, and the plane was going to crash and everyone was going to die. But you can totally make phone calls from a cruise ship, which also operates on navigation. So my guess is it's probably just a connectivity problem at this point, and people are afraid of things, so it makes them feel safer to tell them they can't use a cell phone.
You have to be able to amplify the signal.
Right.
So
I wonder if that isn't mostly something for like business travelers, being able to use your cell phone to call from the plane.
Oh, I'm sure it is, but once it's available to the people in business class, it's not like as the plane is moving, you're only going to be able to keep the signal isolated to the front section of the plane.
That's how technology works, Justin. They keep it in there, and like all those special waves only exist in business class.
Only for the rich people, Justin.
Yeah.
When your bank account dips below a certain amount, your signal's cut off.
Speaking of rich people.
Speaking of all this nonsense hype or whatever, there's this thing called a hype cycle and it's not what you're thinking. It has nothing to do with Tron or anything.
What I'm thinking is you don't know what it has to do with either.
Justin, I don't even know what you want to talk about. Sometimes I don't know when you link this stuff what you want to talk about, but I'm sure you have a reason that you linked it.
He's still working on our segues.
So I'm going to let you handle this one, my friend.
I mean, here's the thing. First of all, what good are you?
Well, I don't know why you linked it, though. Like, what?
Linked what?
Because
what are we talking about?
Why is this, he's talking about the Gartner hype cycle, the 5 most hyped technologies.
Overhyped technologies.
Overhyped.
I think they're full of crap, man. I don't know.
No, so VentureBeat put out this article talking about this company, Gartner, and they have a hype cycle that they release, and it's this big algorithm that they do about, you know, emerging technologies and how we always get super excited when we see new technologies come out. And then, you know, when they actually do release, they're not as great as they were supposed to be, or maybe they don't automatically change the world the way we expected them to right away. And we get disappointed and we grow jaded and we forget about them. But in actuality, you know, these are also maybe kind of important and they sit in the background until something big happens and then they could possibly change the world. And so each year they release this report on the year's most overhyped technologies. And I did like the language that they use, like
so
peak of inflated expectations
Wait,
and
my
trough
favorite-
of disillusionment.
My favorite is definitely the trough of disillusionment, because I'm pretty sure that, like, I always eat and drink out of the trough of disillusionment.
Nice.
So that's the best.
That's been my whole adult life.
Right? I know.
Well, no, the beginning of your adult life is the peak of inflated expectations.
That's true.
But then you trip and fall into the trough of disillusionment.
Now I'm just hanging in the pit of despair.
Are much more universal than maybe Gartner is using them for.
Well, they're still fun.
It's an English major.
Yeah.
That's basically what I see here, is an English major.
Well, so
Brown's,
what?
I was going to say Brown Stadium is the trough of disillusionment.
Yeah.
Oh man, ugh, more like the trough of why bother.
Which I'm pretty sure
I'm
is
sorry, was that
called
too mean?
disillusionment. Actually.
Jason's still like, what is going on?
So some of the
What? I
the
am not the trough of why
technologies.
bother, as in why bother with the Browns. I'm sorry, was that not
You're
clear?
disillusioned with
I got it. I got where it
Thank you,
comes from.
Jared.
I get what you're laying down.
Anyways, these Gardner people are full of crap. Self-driving cars are awesome. That is all.
Yeah, the first one they put on there is autonomous vehicles, which is like insane because those aren't even really a thing yet. They're just like Google's still testing them out. Settle down.
But that's what they're talking about, though, is that these are technologies that people hear about and then they get super excited. But
Yeah.
then
I understand it. I just don't think the hype was ever that big, and I don't think anyone's lost that hype because it never really existed. People were just like, "Oh, that'd be neat. Now I'm going to move on."
That'd be neat, but how will I ever trust a car to drive itself? That's terrifying.
I love it. I look forward to it.
Oh, me too, but I mean, I'm sure the first couple times it's gonna freak me out.
Yeah, there's only been like 14 wrecks, I think, or 11 or 14, one of those two numbers, and they've all been caused by other drivers running into
Right.
Google cars, so it's going to be great.
Well, so also, I don't like how they compare autonomous cars to hybrid cars. Like, those are in no way, like, at all comparable things.
no, but what the point that they're making is that everybody was excited about hybrid cars because everyone's like, oh, we're ruining the planet and we don't have enough resources to continue with gasoline. We need alternatives. And then finally they're like, here's the alternative. We have the ability to produce electric cars. And everyone was like, yes, electric cars. And then that was 15 years ago.
Electric cars and hybrid cars are different, Justin. Electric
but what I'm
cars just have batteries. Hybrid cars, it turns
Have
out,
both.
don't really get great gas mileage, and making and shipping the batteries around the Earth might end up being worse for the environment than just burning gas.
Yeah, hybrid cars are actually pretty terrible.
Electric cars are pretty great.
I
Yeah,
get what they're
electric cars are
saying.
awesome.
I just don't think some of the hype that they bring up here, I don't feel like there was ever that much of a hype for it to be overhyped.
You know what I thought was more hyped than autonomous vehicles are those LED smart roadways.
Oh, you were super into the
I was
smart
super
roadways.
into the
Like he
smart
wanted. We
roadways.
didn't even have any money, and he was ready to invest. Like
Yeah, like you guys saw that video, right?
Yeah,
Nope.
that stuff seems cool though.
No,
I'm still hyped on
Jason
that.
still doesn't
Yeah.
know what's going on.
I'm still high off that hype, son.
what is going on? Yeah, I mean those were pretty neat, Jason. Yeah, they were.
What did
were
they
like,
do?
Well, the point was that basically
Treat me as your audience stand-in.
Okay. Hi. It's solar roadways is what they were called. Basically,
Oh.
they were these octagonal panels that fit together to make roadways. They had solar panels built into them so that cities could use solar energy drawn off these panels day in and day out.
They were just
And
built
then
into the roads.
At night, there were LEDs in them that would light up. And I guess the LEDs were also bright
Yeah.
enough to show during the
It
day.
was all day.
For like
And
lane
it
lines
would-
and stuff?
Yeah, and you could then,
Okay.
if you needed to alter the flow of traffic, you could just alter the lane line.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, that's the cyberpunk future we need.
Well, I don't know though. Like when I drive up to an intersection, I like have expectations, you know?
I have literally no idea what that statement means, Jason.
Well, no,
Yeah,
because
that's what I was
whenever
saying. Let's
like
stop
they're
it.
doing
Jason,
road
what are your-
work
what
and
are
they
your-
well, hold on, no, hear me out. Whenever they're doing like road work and they like add a new lane or change the way the lights go, they put signs up for months. You know, traffic pattern changed. So imagine if the traffic pattern could just randomly change itself and with no warning. You know, when you come to an intersection you've been to a million times, you kind of know what to expect. You know which way to look for traffic. But if it changes
Well,
every
I imagine-
time, I could see that
I
causing
imagine that-
accidents.
They're not going to just like change it.
Yeah,
for
the signs
lulz.
aren't going to go away. They'll put the sign up still.
Well, but also what I'm saying is it's not like, in the middle of rush hour, they're just going to change the flow of traffic without notifying anyone and see what happens. I imagine the general rules would still be the same. It's just that you would have to do less to demarcate where the traffic goes.
And also like parking lots, if parking lots, like if you had a bunch of spaces and you found out that you didn't have enough handicap accessible spaces, you could just push a button and add the logo to additional spaces. So it had a lot of really cool properties, and they were starting the project because, I mean, keep in mind, this is a massive infrastructure change.
Right.
So it's not something that was going to be super easily implemented, but what they were doing was they were starting with driveways and
Okay.
using the solar energy from the driveway to power a home. And you could invest. And if you invested at the early levels when they were still doing this, was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. You got like your own solar roadway panel. Like they sent one to you just so you could have one. So you had got something physical for your money.
So you can look at it.
yeah.
You throw it into your street and you drive over it.
This is nice.
But also because they have all this energy coming in, they also can retain and emit heat. So in the wintertime in cold climates, the roadways would be heated, which would eliminate the need for salt and other chemicals to keep and damaging the roads, keeping the environment clean and stuff like that.
That's neat.
So there was a lot of really great properties to it.
Well, you sold us on it, Justin. We're gonna
Right, now go build them.
The thing that I love about that, it's like headed towards the cyberpunk future that I want, which also ties into the number 3 thing that they said was overhyped, which is the Internet of Things. Which, do you guys know what that concept is? Do you understand?
Yeah.
What, did you guys have to look it up?
No, I mean,
No,
No.
I know it because of working at Apple. The Internet of Things is all of the connected devices, like your Nest, Home, and your security system, everything being connected to the internet where you can control it remotely. That's the Internet of Things. All these things that operate off the internet.
yeah, how
So,
they're-
like, in the article, when they talk about the connected fork, is that like that fork that buzzes when it thinks that you're eating too fast and is super judgmental of you?
I mean, it could be,
only
but I
if
don't
it
think that was
also
more of a
posted
joke.
that information to Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Well,
just...
you can connect that into, like, MyFitnessPal and all
Well,
of
then,
this.
yes.
But no, then that would be the Internet of Things.
And like
I don't feel like
fridges
that's
that tell you
overhyped.
when you're out of milk and stuff.
Yeah, or
Right.
there's this glass that people kickstarted that tells you what you're drinking, which is probably
Yeah.
the stupidest
What?
thing. You pour into it, it's like, oh, this is milk. It's like, oh, really? I poured. That's cool.
Wait, how does
I
it do
could have
that,
sworn I
though?
poured coffee.
I had no idea.
Like, okay.
I don't even know if
Magic,
it's out
Jason.
yet.
It's
I mean,
It still might be in
apparently.
production.
Like, if I pour a mystery substance into it, will it tell me what it is?
Jason, how many mystery substances do you have in your fridge?
Jason is a criminal defense attorney. This might come in useful in court one day.
Guys, this is definitely his urine.
Right now, you pour it in, and the cup is like, not the defendant's DNA. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, I'd like to say definitely strawberry quick.
So I think speech-to-speech translation, the next thing on the list, is super duper neat because I watched a lot of Star Trek growing up.
I think this is super, super terrible. But that's just, I mean, to be fair, I'm sort of like, my opinion is colored by the fact that
Teresa, we don't use words like that anymore.
I hate you. Also, no,
man.
but my opinion is sort of colored by the fact that my dad is actually an interpreter. So he does like real speech-to-speech translation for the courtroom and medical stuff. And a big part of what he does actually is a lot of times you're directly translating what somebody said. So say a witness is testifying in a trial and they say something, and you can give the direct translation, but a lot of times you have to kind of go back and say, well, what do you mean by that? And speech-to-speech translation is not going to give you that, like, what do you mean by that? Or, you know, what does that idiom translate to?
So I stabbed the fucker. What do you mean by that?
It depends on, I think it could. I mean, if you have two people talking with, like, I don't know, like throat things they put up to throat and somehow it comes out as a different language. I don't know how this crap works, technology, whatever. And like they're talking back and forth and it's translating, you know, what they're saying. It could eventually work. Like if they say like, what do you mean by that? And then it translates to, I don't know, German.
Yeah, I guess I just feel like that human component is like sort of important. But then again, that's because that human component is my dad. And as a polyglot, it could also be me in the future. So I don't want to be made irrelevant.
I think stuff like this years down the line. I don't think it's anything that's anytime soon. Also,
well, I mean,
again, this whole thing is about like overhyped stuff, but like I didn't even know this existed, and I should know. And if I don't know it, then it's probably
it's been
a
feature on the Google Translate app, phone app for a
on
little
the
bit.
Google.
On the Googles, that's right.
See, I use Google Translate all the time because the different stores that I've worked at, I've had people come in who don't speak English and they're trying, and I'm like, you know what? Hold on a second. And I pull out Google Translate and I just do it that way.
Talking to this phone.
Well, I mean, no, here's the thing. They understand.
I don't think it's going to be the universal translator in Star Trek anytime soon because I think Terry is right. There's always a human element to translating between two languages. But, you know, for like a tourist or something, just something in a pinch, it seems like it's perfect.
Yeah, no, I think it would be very cool for those purposes. Now, number 2 on the list, advanced analytics with self-service delivery. I know a little bit about big data, and I know that, you know, a lot of companies hire out to companies that actually know how to parse the data and figure out what it means and translate that back to the company that hired them. But I don't understand what the self-service delivery. So what, you just do your own big data analysis? I don't understand how that's an emerging
it's kind of like a heart rate monitor, step counter, junk like that. That's like ways of, and they're developing other things that you can do to kind of track your own data.
Oh, is that what that means?
That's what I understand it as.
Oh, I thought it was more of like a, you know, almost like a hired out big data, like you're a startup company looking to like crunch your customer numbers or something. But then that would be a third party vendor.
Well, that's
so
what
never
I mean,
mind.
but like
I have no idea what it means.
I figured it was either on a personal or, I don't know, maybe they do mean a business.
The Grown Up Geek podcast filled with experts.
Yeah, exactly. Experts on nothing.
Let's pretend number 2 doesn't exist.
Right. Forget that one. It's a list of 4 things.
Number 5 is machine learning, which is pretty much in like all of the other things on the list are reliant on machine learning. So
the machine learning, a lot of people misunderstand. There's a lot of people out there, even Stephen Hawking himself, which is so surprising to hear someone like that, who you would assume is intelligent in most things he speaks about, warning about artificial intelligence. And that's just not something that's going to happen anytime soon. The one factor that people
so the machines want us to think.
Everyone, Jared is a Cylon. So just throwing that out there.
Machines can learn. Machines have, like, if you know what the Turing test is, there are machines that have beaten the Turing test. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a test that is done with computer programs to where there's a human speaking to either what they don't know whether it's a human or a computer, and it's basically the job of the computer to fool the human into thinking that they're speaking to another human, and if they do that, then they've passed the Turing test. And there have been machines that have done that, but the part that's missing with this whole machine learning and machines becoming sentient is that there's an emotional factor to this, and machines can't have emotions. So
Yet.
Stephen Hawking, you're a chump. What do you know? What you don't know what you're talking about?
Snap, man.
Also, I feel like you never saw Bicentennial Man if you're throwing out this whole machines don't have feelings. I'm just gonna go watch that movie again and weep.
Oh, or that movie with the Android movie with Haley Joel Osment. He had lots of feelings.
Oh yeah, AI.
You mean AI?
Yeah, it was not the best movie ever. I saw it once and kind of tried to forget about it, but, you know, I don't remember the song or the name. Just Haley Joel Osment crying that his, like, human mother didn't love him anymore.
I don't even remember who Josh Groban is.
I will murder you.
Murder. Speaking of murder, there's a lawyer.
Nice. That wasn't where I thought you were going with it, but I thought you were going to the video games aggression thing.
No, we'll get to that.
Okay.
That's another
All
great
right.
segue coming. Look forward to that one.
I'm excited, Jared. I know you work on these all week.
So there's a lawyer in New York who is demanding a trial by combat. I don't really know. I didn't do too much research on this one. I was hoping that one of the experts on this podcast could probably give me a little bit more info, or maybe they are aware of something like this, if that's actually something that he can do. I mean, he's a lawyer, so I'm assuming he knows that he can.
I'm surprised you're not just asking me why it was added to the list.
Hey, I added this one.
No, the lawyer in question, Richard Luthman, is getting sued because it is believed that the plaintiff, he was the defense attorney in the case with the plaintiff before, and they believe that he helped the defendant in that case hide money that would otherwise have increased what the plaintiff would have won. So now they are suing him and saying that he owes them that money because he helped the defendant hide the money. And he is arguing that...
He's asking for trial by combat.
Right.
Yes, because he is saying that because it was never specifically outlawed, he should be able to fight the plaintiff to the death.
But, like, to be fair, interpretive dance battles or rap battles have also never been specifically outlawed, but that's not how the legal system works.
Well, so, like, there's... I'm pulled in two directions by this.
Because Jason wants to fight to the death.
That's right.
The only reason.
Well, so don't think I haven't kicked around the thought, like, would it be easier to win if I just fought this prosecutor? But no, we're civilized people. But, like, so on the one hand, I'm sure the court that he filed this request in has, like, rules and trial procedures, and I would be willing to bet that the courts in New York do not have any rules allowing for trial by combat. On the other hand, though, the common law is above, your court rules, and I guess if he can find some legal authority that, like, in New York, legal, you could have a binding legal resolution by way of a duel or something, but I think people more did duels out of their ego than out of, like, any kind of legal obligation. I don't know, man. I think he's probably gonna lose. If I were the judge, I would be like, nah, brah, nah.
I think it would be fantastic if they let it happen.
I just want Jason to be a judge now, so those can be like his rulings.
See, I want to see them grant him permission, and just to look at his face when he realizes he has to fight these guys
to the death.
But it could be like Game of Thrones style, where because it said that he didn't specify whether he was going to fight or whether he was going to get a champion to fight for him. So
now, see, I think if we're relying on historical tradition, I don't think in the United States you could ever have someone else duel for you. I think you had to do your own duels.
in the in Europe, there was. I wish I didn't know so much about stupid stuff like
I
dueling.
wish I wasn't so smart.
No,
I wish I wasn't so smart.
Because you guys were talking
things.
about the data stuff, and I was like, I don't understand any of this. What's happening? And then you're like, I don't know about dueling, and I'm like, let me tell you about dueling.
Please tell us about dueling.
No, there definitely in Europe there was more of a precedent of like getting a champion if you didn't think that you could do the fighting yourself, but
Wimps. We're tough.
Don't get into a fight to the death unless you're willing to pony up your own life for it.
Right. I'm gonna smack you with a glove, and then run away, and then send in Hulk Hogan. So. But yeah, no, I think at least my understanding is that in the United States, at least, if we're going on precedent and acting like this is a thing, he would have to do it himself. So, start doing some burpees, guy.
Nice.
Yeah, man, I'm all for it. If someone wants to fight someone to the death or whatever the rules are, I don't care. Like, let him get in the ring, like a UFC fight or something like that with some other dude. That'd be awesome. Pay-per-view. Make it an event. Do it.
My champion would be Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, make him fight Ronda Rousey. I'm all for it.
A lawyer versus Ronda Rousey.
I mean, it would be a lot more efficient than our legal system is now, right? A trial can take weeks, but if we're doing it UFC style, nothing's going to take more than 15 minutes.
Well, 15 minutes, Ronda Rousey will have him down in like 6 seconds.
Right.
Whatever. If two grown adults want to fight it out, just let them do it. Whatever. As long as it's like in some, I don't know, nice area with cameras and stuff that I can watch, go for it.
If it works for the legal system, we should see if it works in the political arena.
You want to turn it into a literal arena?
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me?
So you're saying you want to see Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton fist fight to see who's going to be president?
It has to be a tag team match, though. They have to have the vice president.
Oh, yes.
I actually want to see Donald Trump
Constitutional
and Chris Christie go at it.
For the primary?
Yeah.
No, just making out.
Yeah, I know. When he said go at it, I was like, I feel a little uncomfortable.
I don't know, man.
Please do not.
I wouldn't want to get in a fight with Chris Christie. He seems mean. Like, I don't mean like day to day. I'm sure he's a nice enough guy, just like, hey, Governor Christie, what's up? But like, you know, if he's getting down to business and it's like you and him fight to the death, you know, I'm not willing to get into that. Seems like a scrapper to me.
You know who else is trying to be a little bit scrappy out there in the video game?
No.
Yes. You're interrupting these great segues.
Go back, pick another word that he used and try again.
That scrappy young company, they're up and coming, they're trying hard, they're not doing that well, but they're coming around. Microsoft, have you heard of them? They're the developers of the Xbox One more specifically.
That sounds fancy.
And it's a video game console. So Phil Spencer was on.
No, Phil Twitter.
Phil Twitter was on Spencer the other day.
Yeah. I think we just wrote some fan fiction and it was amazing.
Him and Twitter were chilling, just chatting, and someone asked him about the possibility of going all the way back to the original Xbox when it comes to backwards compatibility, following up on the thing that we talked about last week, which the Xbox One is working on 360 backwards compatibility. Phil Spencer said to that fan, I don't think it's silly. I asked the backwards compatibility team this question a lot, but we need to finish the Xbox 360 backwards compatibility
I just imagine him going in there and being like, for like the 80th time, what about the original Xbox? And like, shut up, Phil Twitter.
He just walks in, asks every few minutes. But what about the original Xbox? Phil, go away. Okay.
See, I just hear, what about the original Xbox? You got Halo on the Master Chief Collection. What more do you want?
That's pretty much true. What do you want from the original Xbox? Blood Wake? No, you don't.
Right. You think you want Jet Set Radio.
Yeah, but you don't. Believe me, you don't.
No, Painkiller.
Painkiller's on other stuff. It's on 360.
It was?
Yeah.
I thought it was an original Xbox game.
But, okay, so would they make money off of this backwards compatibility? Because my understanding of it, which is, of course, pretty close to nothing, is that, like, you get the games that you had before, right? Like, Justin has games from his 360 that he had downloaded, and now he can play them again. But is it that just then, like, you could also purchase any games that were available on the regular Xbox?
Well, in my mind, the backwards compatibility thing is less to sell games and more to sell Xboxes. You know, it encourages people to get rid of their old Xboxes and upgrade to the new one because they can still play all the games they like.
But was anyone really holding on to the regular Xbox? They were like, I'm not going to get a 360 and I'm definitely not going to get an Xbox One because I love my original Xbox.
No, those people don't exist.
Yeah, that was my, I don't know. That didn't seem...
I think that the thing that still remains to be seen is how this is all going to work. And if it works well, then I guess maybe... Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I was able to...
I am in the trough of disillusionment.
I was browsing my games on my Xbox One, and I scrolled all the way over to the right, and all of a sudden there was this new screen. And I'm part of the preview program, which is why this popped up. But,
and it's pretty cool. No big deal. I'm just going to bring it up once a podcast.
Yeah, once every time. And I'm also part of the Nintendo Club of America, and just card carrying,
I think you've been part of the Nintendo Club of America since 4th grade.
That's just because you met me in 4th grade.
So it predates that?
Yeah, Jason, you idiot.
I'm just saying, I remember when you used to get VHS tapes of, like, the next big game coming out on the N64.
Oh, I got some of those VHS tapes. I may or may not have gone onto eBay and bought old copies of those as well.
Nice.
So anyway, but I scrolled to the right and all of a sudden it was like other titles for you to download. And it was pretty much every game I had ever downloaded on the 360. Not disc-based, but just downloadable. And it still doesn't answer the question of how they're going to handle disc-based media. But I just, it's interesting that they're going to try to ride this train all the way back to the original Xbox.
Well, let's not jump. They didn't say that. He just said that it would be nice to do, but they didn't say for sure that they're going to do it.
It's that damn...
You know what would be nice? Probably this.
Right. Hey, Microsoft, it'd be cool if I could play original Xbox games on my Xbox One. It sure would be.
Pretty much. It's just they're desperate. They're so desperate to get sales at this point that they're hoping that people will cling on to the fact that, like, oh wow, because that's the thing. Everyone made a big deal when the Xbox One was first announced. And there wasn't going to be backwards compatibility. Everybody was super upset about it. And now that it's announced, everyone's kind of like they don't care because it doesn't actually matter.
Backwards compatibility is one of those weird things where, like, the only people who really care about it are, like, hardcore, like, really, like, into gamer types. But those people end up being the ones it matters for least because you're just always moving on to the next game anyways.
I feel like those are the people it matters to least because, like, I'm the type of person who never sells or gets rid of any of my games. So, like, I can just go back to it. I don't care about whether or not I can play this on a new system. I think it's always the people
Well, then who's complaining about backwards compatibility?
Probably the group that wants to sell their new console sell their old console once the new console comes out.
Right. I mean, you only have so much room under the TV.
Sure.
And it's, like, a huge pain to, like, pull out the, like, oh, I'm going to go get my 360 from the basement so I can play Gears of War.
I sold my 360, and I haven't really, like, I guess all I really played on it was Halo. So, at this point, I played a bunch of games on it over the years, but maybe because I have the Master Chief Collection, I'm not really sitting around and going, I really miss this game.
That's another good point too. With all the, like, remakes and reboots and everything, you can pretty much get an updated version of your favorite game anyways. So why would you want to play the crappy original version?
Yeah, because that's all this generation is remakes of old games.
I just don't feel like there's that big of an audience for it. So I think it's a little. I know Phil Spencer's not out there desperately trying to get in the headlines. Phil Twitter.
Yes.
I just don't think he was out there to, like. I don't know. Maybe some PR person is handling all of his tweets, but I don't feel like
all of his expenses.
Yeah. I don't know where I'm going with this. I just don't think that's big of a deal. I don't think there's an audience for it. So Microsoft, just move on.
Well, hold on, Jared. Do you want to keep making a point so Justin and I can interrupt you more?
What? It's segue time.
That was the best segue yet. That was just, like, seamless. If I didn't know we were changing topics, I wouldn't have known it was happening.
Speaking of not knowing what's happening.
Madden NFL 16, the movie.
Yeah, that's actually an
I
excellent
mean, no, I
transition.
watched that whole video thinking, what is happening?
So I have to go first on this.
Yeah, Justin, you were pretty hot and made a pretty damning statement
You
about
just called
this.
me hot.
Justin, you're pretty hot.
Justin,
you got
looked
great
so
guns.
hot today when you were trashing Madden 16.
You got legs that just won't quit. But
Nice.
there are.
Please quit.
You made a damning statement that this video is everything wrong with the gaming industry. So real quick, explain what it is, and then tell me
I'm gonna
why you
ruin your
think
whole
it's-
point and then go.
Yeah,
So
I'm picking
Phil
on Jared
Twitter,
tonight. I'm sorry, man.
it's all right. It's just like high school again. No big deal.
Podcast, go.
Can I applaud again?
Let's start over. Everyone mark.
Yay!
Anyway, no, so it's tough because the reason I say it's everything that's wrong with the video game industry is because we have an issue right now, first of all, with these hyped up, super expensive video game previews and trailers and hype videos that have nothing to do with the game. And it really became an issue. Like, it was always sort of an issue, but it became a big issue when Dead Island first came out, and everyone got super hyped about this video.
Yeah, Dead Island was
trailer,
the first
preview,
game
whatever.
with misleading trailers.
I doubt that. But you know what I mean.
Right.
But, you know, so you've got that, and then you have the whole issue with Watch Dogs and so on and so forth. Now, this ad, it really stands on both sides of the fence, because as an ad and the psychology of advertising, it's fucking brilliant.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it doesn't have to advertise what it's talking about. The sheer fact that it doesn't is what's getting us to talk about it and perpetuating free advertising for Madden 16. So from that perspective, it's brilliant. As an advertisement for a video game or a representation of the video game industry in a public forum, it is terrible. It is just fucking terrible because...
I'll let you finish, but
Someone just fainted and
I heard a wimpy ghost.
I feel you. Like, hey, ladies, I'm tough.
But he thinks I'm pretty hot. Anyway, no. So the problem I have with it is, well, actually, here, you know what? The best way to do this, and I actually told Jared I was going to share this, was when I found this video. It was because Peter Moore, who's one of the executives at EA and has been, you know, in charge of a lot of their things over the years, he posted it with this long statement that he issued. And just the fact that it required this much of a statement just to justify the video was indicative of the problem. He said, every marketer is aware of the mission-critical need to replenish their user base, introducing their brand to new generations as they become part of the addressable market, and to keep their product message fresh, engaging, and relevant. The Madden franchise is 27 years old and has been at the forefront of popular video game culture for the great bulk of that time. But as time marches on, the challenge to keep this great brand on the cutting edge of relevancy becomes more difficult each year. Last year, we threw down the gauntlet to our creative team here at EA. Tear up the marketing playbook, bring us something that makes us feel disruptive, uncomfortable even. They delivered, and then some. Madden season, featuring Kevin Hart and Dave Franco, was unlike anything previously seen in video game marketing. Frenetic, entertaining, completely unique, and full of say-what moments. It truly resonated with this upcoming generation of gamers, delivering some of the strongest positive feedback numbers we've ever seen in EA Sports' long and storied history. Oh, and it garnered our agency Heat prestigious Gold and Silver Cannes Lion Awards. So how did the team top last year's award-winning creative? By taking the core recipe, adding a generous sprinkling of celebrity cameos, cranking up the wacky factor to 11, and delivering one of the most entertaining, generationally relevant TV spots ever. Enjoy, it's Madden season. So, here's the thing.
I just love how EA has to take some time to, like, pat themselves on the back for making a really kick-ass commercial.
Well, that's the thing. So, Madden season, last year's ad with Dave Franco and Kevin Hart was good.
Awesome.
It was a great ad.
Oh, it was great. It was. I agree with you that this one, as far as a commercial for a video game, last year's was a lot more successful in being attention-grabbing, but still being about the game.
And that's the whole point, was that it was a good ad because it was fun. It had moments that you wanted to share with other people, but it was about Madden and the fact that Madden
and
is...
that song was so catchy.
Yeah, and it was a fun game that you could have a bunch of people stand around and watch you play, and when you get into those really, heated matches, it's just exciting for everybody. Plus, Dave Franco, despite being kind of like the Diet Coke of Francos, he was entertaining, and Kevin Hart is always entertaining. So it was a good ad that captured the spirit of the game. It showed off the game. It discussed the features of the game, but it also showed that it was a fun game to be shared with other people, and could be generationally relevant. There is absolutely nothing generationally relevant about the new ad.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know what
you're upset. You're upset over something that I don't think is even a problem.
No, because what I'm upset about is, here's the thing. There's only two things about Madden that matter. There's only two things about Madden that matter. First of all, well, actually, there's three things. First of all, Jason, shut the fuck up.
Is that the
Second
first thing?
All right, I eventually will have something to say against what
Jared,
Justin's saying here, but after...
this ends with a transition, so...
Justin is going to crap all over Madden, and then we're going to move on.
No, that's the whole point. This ad craps all over Madden.
Justin, get to your points.
No, so what I'm saying is Madden has a built-in exposure. It is the NF fucking L. You don't need to appeal because your audience is already watching the actual season. So they know that if they want to play an NFL game, they want to play Madden. So if you're going to have an ad about Madden and you want to keep it relevant and interesting, don't invest millions and millions of dollars in hiring all of these actors to act like assholes for 4.5 minutes. You should be investing that money into the game and finding new ways, unexplored ways, to make it more realistic. Now, granted, the technology is limited, so you can only do so much. But the fact of the matter is, nothing about that ad said that I need to go get Madden. I mean, like, the two moments that they had to shine were the moment when, was it Rex Ryan? Was that who was the coach?
Yeah, Rex Ryan.
Was when Rex Ryan was coaching Dave Franco on how to play Madden. They could have done a lot more with that moment. And then when they had him actually square off against, what's his name? The bad guy from There Will Be Blood. Who was the actor that played the bad guy? Teresa, you knew his name yesterday.
Yeah, but that's not really
Yeah,
him.
it wasn't
That was
Javier
you being
Bardem.
That's not
yeah,
him.
that was super racist, by the way.
Yeah, they all look alike.
Why? Well, anyway,
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, when he faced off against him, they could have had more Madden play, and they chose to go with a cheap joke instead. So, I mean, the song that they played at the end was actually really apropos. Why do you build me up? They played Build Me Up Buttercup, and it's like, this whole ad was a build-up, and I was expecting to see something about Madden that was at least partially relevant to all the other bullshit that was going on, and there was nothing. So if you're going to come out and say, Madden is 27 years old, and in retrospect, gaming, as we know it, if we start back with the NES in the early 80s, is only a couple years older than that. So if your franchise has been largely relevant the entire time that video games have been largely relevant, I don't understand why you think you need to do something as stupid as this to plug your game. And I think that's the problem.
What I'm taking away from this is that I am over 27, so I am no longer relevant and should probably, blow some stuff up, have a dinosaur come eat somebody. That's what I think.
All right, Jared, you want to go or should I?
Well, I had to take notes because there's a lot of points in there. First off, you're comparing apples to oranges, and when it comes to comparing this to Dead Island's trailer, that's kind of a completely different thing, because Madden is a known quantity. Madden, like they said, has been around 27 years. They don't need to explain to anyone what Madden is. Everybody knows what Madden is.
I agree completely. It's a football game. Everyone knows what a football game looks like.
Right, and the people who are hardcore Madden fans, either A, they're going to buy it no matter what, because the updated rosters or whatever, or B, they're going to buy it or they're going to look into it and actually find out what's on there. Do you, you said, tell me why I need to buy Madden? Because you like football, period. That's it. There's no other reason. They don't need to explain anything to you. Either you like football and you want to play a game about it, or you don't. There's nothing they're going to, we got real new feel this year where you can hit the stick a little bit, and your guy wiggles a little bit more, and it's more realistic.
I am under the impression that Jared does not watch football.
They sashay down the field, right?
The wiggle factor is not nearly
well,
as important.
and can I add in Jared that I agree. I think I agree with Justin that it is a problem that we have completely divorced video game advertising and trailers from in-game footage.
But that didn't
I think
start
there
with
is
Madden.
some marginal value in having in-game footage just because with a game like Madden, the improvements from year to year a lot of them are graphical. So showing
don't
me
we get
in-game
that-
footage of how much better the catch animations are, how much smoother the blocking animations are, there could be a little bit of value in that. But
But
for
we
the
get
most part,
that-
I agree with you that like it's a football game. Everyone knows what football
feel-
looks like.
I feel like we get that in-game. Like, if you really want to see in-game play, you're going to be able to find snippets of that on YouTube anyway.
Right.
Like, if
And if
you're
you
not
really
gonna be
care,
like, I'm
that's
gonna
where you're
Google,
going to look.
Right. I'm not going to go on YouTube and look for the trailer if I want to see in-game play. I'm going to, like, actually put in the search term, in-game play Madden 2016. So...
Look, I'm on the same side as all you guys when it comes to, like, the trailers should have gameplay and not a bunch of nonsense. But Madden is not the one that
Madden
started
might be a
this all.
special case.
First off, I thought this stuff and the one from last year was great. It's fantastic. It's more enjoyment I get out of Madden than I ever have before. So I think it's great. Go for it. Keep doing stupid stuff like that. But when it comes to video game trailers as a whole, what's the last big game that came out that you're like, wow, the trailers really showed off? There's no trailers that show off what games are like. They're either live action, which makes no sense in a video game context, or it's like some cut together, cutscene trailer that's just showing like, hey, we kind of want it to look like this. This is our idea of what we think it's going to be, but it's rarely ever indicative of the actual product.
What makes video games different than movies and other stuff is that it's much more like personally experiential. You are experiencing these things, and so that doesn't necessarily translate well to a commercial in the same way that it might for like a movie or
Right, because
show.
you
The
can't
fact
control
that-
the way the commercial plays out.
right.
But the fact remains that I don't disagree with what you guys are saying. Yes, Madden doesn't get all that different from year to year, but there was a period of time in the late 90s to early 2000s where there were new features added to Madden, like the hit stick and other things like that changed the feel of how the game played.
But changes like that aren't being made anymore. Like those were
At least not
largely
every
because
year.
of Those are largely because of technology changes at the time.
But that's what I'm saying. So we are seeing ourselves inch closer and closer to newer technologies. We have, Palmer Luckey and the Oculus Rift. We have HoloLens. We have Project, is it Orpheus or Morpheus? I can never remember. Morpheus.
Project Orpheus.
No,
Anyway.
so we have all of these new and emerging technologies, and the only thing at this point that can make Madden more realistic is to take advantage of those, or to somehow find a way to make these models look so real that it looks like the actual players.
But
Now,
I think you're mad at the game. You're mad at this trailer when you should be mad at EA and Madden.
But
because
that's who I'm mad at. I'm mad at EA for wasting all of this money.
He's
on
mad at
this-
it's their
everyone.
money, though. Like if they
But
want
it's
to,
money that they made off of people buying Madden.
but it's their money.
Well, hold on. You can only innovate so much in one game in 1 year. Like, they still need to make all the models, make all the sprites, do all the animations, model all the characters. And it could just be that, throwing more money at R&D isn't EA has enough money that I assure you they can afford both R&D and marketing.
Well, also, look, their marketing department did their job. You said this before. We're giving them all this free advertising on this podcast right now. We have been talking about Madden for a long time.
And I still have one more point to
exactly what they're supposed to do. Sorry, Jason.
Well, it's
carry on.
okay. Just a quick thing that occurs to me is that because, one thing Justin is bothered about is how does this commercial bring Madden to a new generation? And I actually think it kind of does because, Jared and Terry both point out that if you're a hardcore Madden person, you're going to buy it no matter what. So a commercial like this that shows, look, it's not just for jocks, it's not just about sports. Sports guys can be goofy and have a good time. And, I think it's trying to bring Madden to people who don't buy it every year, who've never tried Madden before and go, you know what? That commercial last year with Kevin Hart made me laugh. This thing looks like a lot of fun. All right. I like watching football with my, grandpa, so I'll try it out.
But
I
that's the
honestly
thing.
don't
What
think
about
this
this? Go on.
I was just going to say, real quick, I don't think this ad actually is going to sell anybody either way on it. I think it's just something fun that EA can kind of point to and look like, hey, we're not the worst company in the world, even though people think we are. I think it's just a fun ad and nothing more. I think Madden is one of those things that either you want it or you don't want it, and that's it. I think it's very much a black and white thing.
Why do we have to... First she says colored, now you say black and white.
Hey.
So, true story, at work the other
racist.
day I found a criminal complaint from 1973, and one of the facts listed in the complaint was that the crime was committed with 3 Negro males. It was
All right.
an awesome blast
thank
from
you
the
for
past.
thank you for providing us with a story that Jared will have to edit out.
Oh man, well,
No editing in this podcast. It's all raw.
I mean, put it in or not, it's from a public court filing, so it's not like it's secret.
Can I see that report? I don't believe you.
I mean, if I still have it around, I can probably get you a copy. It was pretty breathtaking.
It would be interesting to read.
Yeah.
I cannot transition out of that, so
Well, here, I'll give you a transition. The whole Madden ad just felt like a bit of a bait and switch. Speaking of bait and switch.
What the
no,
hell are you
I'm not
talking
gonna.
about?
No, Fig is not a bait and switch.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even know which one you're trying to transition to, and I read all the articles.
Fig is
The Fig article.
the article
was too
about
long.
Fig. The article about Fig is a fucking bait and switch.
No, it's not a bait and switch. Fig. Okay, so there's this new.
Yes, please
I guess
tell
you
me
could
what
say.
Fig is.
You still got your transition out of it.
That was the worst. That was our worst segue yet, and that's like kind of saying something. Jared can edit over it. Well, we'll fix it in post.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post. Don't worry, I can fix everything in post. So Fig, it's this new crowdfunding platform, or at least that's what people are calling it. I don't.
It's
really
a fruit.
I don't know if I'd
I do
call
like
it
figs.
crowdfunding, but it's more of an investment platform where people are gonna, certain people are gonna have the ability.
You
to
mean wealthy people?
invest in? Well, that's what investors are. You don't. Homeless people don't invest in
Well,
stuff.
I mean, sure, but you don't have to be wealthy to buy like a share of something or something. Like,
And you don't have to be
Well-
wealthy to use Kickstarter. And they're trying to say that
They're two different things, though.
God, Justin, I don't know whose side I'm on. Apparently,
What is going on?
Jason just doesn't know what's going on tonight.
But he's a lawyer, so he's got to argue.
Okay, well,
Exactly.
let me finish explaining this real quick. So Fig, it's a platform sort of like Kickstarter. We'll get into the details of how the money is actually taken in and whatnot, but it's sort of like Kickstarter where developers can go and say, hey, we want
Well,
to
that's
get
one of the
funding.
primary differences. It's for games only.
Right, exactly. And it's there's a board of game developers on there who kind of curate the games that are going to show up on the site, but it's a site in which a developer can go to Fig and say, hey, I want to get crowdfunding or investments for this game, and they can put it up on that site and they can take investments. That's kind of the very short version of it.
Now, is Fig going to offer any other kind of services? Because one of the things that I thought was most interesting about it are the people who are sort of running it, because the sense I got is that they're designing a program that they think will help these independent developers get funding and actually be able to bring their games all the way to fruition. And I feel like if anybody knows how to throw together a good game on a tight budget, it's these guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really... I don't think they're going to be advising the developers saying, like, this is how you're going to make this game on a tight budget. I think it's strictly just crowdfunding and investments. That's the only
Also,
reason they exist.
Double Fine is a very large developer. They keep
now.
getting written as... they have been for a while. They were before they did their multi-million-dollar Kickstarter for Broken Age.
Right. But, I mean, point remains, I think that, the expertise to create a funding model that will work better for gaming than Kickstarter does.
Well, this isn't going to replace Kickstarter. That's the thing. The only certain people can actually invest in this.
And those people have
it's
to
not.
have a net worth. You have to have a net worth of over $1 million, or you have to have it reported for the last 2 tax years, an income of $200,000 or greater to be classified as a Reg D accredited investor. And those are the only people that can invest through Fig.
Or your household income of over $300K. Let's be clear. This isn't Fig. These are our laws of private investment.
Those are regulations set by the Securities Commission.
Yeah, the Security and Exchange Commission.
Yeah, they're the ones that set the regulations, because what you're that's how you're getting part ownership. It's sort of like, it's not really an IPO.
It's not
but
even ownership.
You get part
It's
of
equity, right?
Yeah, you get equity in the company.
Right, but like if there's another game that's made, you don't get you're not attached to that at all. You're not even attached to the main game. All you're getting is profits off of the sale of that game.
But what I'm saying is, I feel like the problem with games on Kickstarter was that you weren't getting that equity. You were getting these stretch goals and stuff, and if you invested at a certain level, you got a copy of the game. So great. But you weren't getting that return on investment for the millions of dollars they're going to make on top of the money you gave them to make the game.
Well, because Kickstarter isn't an investment platform. The point of Kickstarter isn't to make money. The point of Kickstarter is to go, that looks like a cool thing that won't make money, but I really wish it existed anyways.
Well, I think that the argument is that the return on investment might not be cash in hand, but, there's some stuff in this game that I wanted, and I made that happen with my money.
What I'm saying is, it sounds like all the guys involved in Fig were like, the problem is you're not getting equity, you're not getting fair equity in the end product. So we want to make this investment platform where you can get that equity. But the way they talk about it in the interview, they don't really go all that in depth, and it makes it sound like that when they say you, they mean me, and they mean Jason, who makes more money than I do, and they mean, Donald Trump, who makes more money. They may everybody across the board.
I think that's more of a fault of Venture Beats
reporting. I do not qualify. Let's be clear.
No, you don't. No, but what I'm saying is,
Jason's rich. Everybody.
Gold diggers beware.
What I'm saying is that they make it sound that you means all incomes.
Okay, I would maybe. I don't know. I think
that is the impression that I got from the article.
And it made me,
I will say,
like, I wanted to go to Fig and be like, cool, I'm going to start putting up for the equity.
Well, I mean, hey, if you pick the right game.
With what? The baby's college fund?
Exactly.
I don't know. Like, going back to Kickstarter real quick, that was a donation in the hopes that something would actually come out. I don't think there's any problem with Kickstarter in that sense. I think there's other problems with Kickstarter, but anyone who went to Kickstarter expecting more than that, that's their own fault for misunderstanding the platform. Fig, maybe in the interview it wasn't super clear, but if you just think about it realistically, like, it's hard enough if you read any stories about Kickstarters where they have to fulfill all those requirements, all those, what do you call them? Stretch goals, or just the goals that they put up for people. Sometimes they spend a large percentage of their funding just doing that, just trying to fulfill that, let alone pay out on equity. Like, that's, especially if it's a game that doesn't even do well and they have to pay it out. It just seems unrealistic. If you can't, put in a certain amount and you're not already making a certain amount, it doesn't make sense.
Well, and I think the return on investment kind of solves the issue of how do you get big money backers. Like Kickstarter, they always ask for like $10,000, $20,000 donations, but because there's no return on investment, there really is no way to give somebody something back that is worth that $10,000 or $20,000 without basically blowing all of your Kickstarter money on gifts to donors.
I think Fig's a neat idea. I think it's cool. I think
I would like to actually read through the article before I come up with an opinion.
I think figs taste bad, and I think this is bad.
Oh, that's nonsense. Figs are delicious.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, figs are objectively awesome.
Even though bugs crawl into them and die, like, that's a normal thing where wasps will crawl into figs and, like, die, and then you might be eating a wasp. I don't know, Fig's pretty cool. Check it out. But something you should fund, speaking of Kickstarter, as Jason said, Russ Pitts. If you don't know who Russ Pitts is, he's a long time.
Fund Russ's Pitts.
Fund Russ's Pitts. He is a long time.
Send Spencer's tweets.
He's one of the few people who I would actually consider a video game journalist. That term gets thrown around a lot for a lot of people who just basically rewrite PR stories. Russ Pitts is one of the few people who really, and I'm basically just going to hype Russ Pitts' backstory or Kickstarter. I'm going to hype his Kickstarter because he's asking for a lot of money and he's probably not going to make it, which is a shame. But Russ Pitts, he's a longtime video game journalist. He's created a lot of really interesting video game content. He loves to do things about the video games and the people behind them and their lives and what they went through to make the games, and a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And it's very fascinating. You can see a lot of his stuff on Polygon. He doesn't work there anymore, but he helped create Polygon. He does a great series called Human Angle.
He worked for The Escapist for a while, too.
He did work for The Escapist as well. he's working on a Kickstarter here. He has a Kickstarter that says "Bring the Human Stories of Video Games to Life," and he's asking for $192,105, and right now he has a little over 14,000 in backing.
I mean, it's a cool concept, but it's not original. I mean, there's been so many documentaries made lately about the process of making games and exploring the human angle and all that kind of stuff. There's been plenty of that, and and
you're right. We don't need any more of that. Let's stop this. This is disgusting. We've got too much of it.
Justin
we need
is
more
super curmudgeonly tonight.
We need more trailers about what's going to be in Madden.
I mean, I don't see Russ Pitts with a CGI T-Rex, so who cares?
If you're gonna yell, you have to do it right. You can't just yell Madden. You have to gutturally scream Madden.
Madden!
This is some curmudgeonly shit, man.
I just wanted to make Jared do that. I hope somebody, when they listen to this, has their volume up really loud.
Well, they will. I told my parents to listen to this.
You just killed both of Teresa's parents.
How does that make you feel?
I had to get a drink of water. So,
well done.
Anyway, stage of development is the Russ Pitts game. Is the Russ Pitts Kickstarter. I think he does a lot of unique stuff. There are a lot of video game documentaries and a lot of behind the scenes stuff out there, but I think Russ has a unique eye for this stuff. And while he's asking for a lot of money,
it's also kind of unique in that it's not like a long form documentary. It's supposed to be 7 to 10 minute, kind of mini documentaries with the idea that, it's supposed to be almost an ongoing series. Potentially he could be doing this forever if it does, really well.
So why not just do it for Polygon?
Because he left Polygon because, look, Look,
I'm gonna let you finish.
I'm gonna think twice about it before saying this on the podcast we're about to publish.
Yeah, I mean, I can always cut it later, but I don't like Polygon. They...
Breathe through it, Jared. Breathe through it.
I got a lot of mean stuff to say about Polygon, but I'll leave that out of the podcast. Those are my views, not the Grown Up Geeks views. They're not a very good website with some not very good people on it. But anyway, so Russ Pitts did work for them, but his content wasn't getting as much views as them reposting YouTube videos, so they let him go, essentially.
Aww.
I mean, I think it's worth... I don't know. I mean, I guess I want to see the first episode that he kept promising is going to come out anyway. I mean, I would have released one episode and then done the Kickstarter, because at least that way, for something like this, you have a taste of what you're investing in.
Yeah.
Well, here's my question is that, in the description of the project, he goes on and on about how, it's going to be different sides of the lives of video games and players and families. And, I see a bunch of developers and a sound guy and a guy who's in video games media. I don't know. I feel like, you got to start where you can start, but
I'm just going to put this out there. Listen, Russ, we all want to see this happen. So right. if you're concerned about editorial control of your content and really wanting to let your personality shine, there is an excellent website for that. And it's The Grown Up Geek, and we would love to have you. We can't pay you a dime, but I think you coming aboard would help us make money. Then we could pay you all the dimes.
Yeah, I know you're looking for $200,000, but what do you think about nothing?
How do you feel about not making a dime, but getting to do whatever you want? Because we don't care about ads and YouTube videos.
Hey, full disclosure, I am
click
gonna,
all of our ads.
Yeah, I am gonna back this project.
I haven't decided yet.
Personally, I like his stuff a lot. I don't think he's going to hit the goal anyway, so my money's probably safe, but...
He's still got 24 days to go.
Yeah, it's not looking too good. Who knows?
And he can
when
always say...
When did they put it up? It's got 24 days left. How many did it start?
So 6 days ago. You get 30 days max. 30 or 60, and I think it was 30, so 6 days ago.
Okay. I mean, I'm real impressed with like the breakdown of the costs and everything. I feel like he's done a really good job of like telling you where your money is going to go.
Right.
Which,
But if
I feel like a lot of Kickstarters are not very transparent about.
I thought there was more after.
I know it sounded. I was
Well,
waiting.
no, it's just most of the time they're like, I'm making this and I need this insanely huge amount of money to do it. And you have no idea how much of that is like that person's cocaine budget.
Why do you need $11 billion to make a coloring book?
Right. And here it's like, here is where every dollar is going to go. Like, I appreciate that, you know?
Well, I mean, I think it helps that he's like an established person who has done this before, so he can actually, like, he knows where every dollar is going to go, and it's not like some startup rando who...
Him and the potato salad guy, very upfront about their costs.
Right.
But if he doesn't make it, then he will be in the trough of disillusionment.
Oh, poor Russ.
Otherwise known as
the American Psychological.
No, dude. No, I was going
too soon.
I was. Oh no, we didn't include Dismaland, did we?
No, I didn't include that because I didn't know if there's anything worth talking about. But you want to talk about Banksy's Dismaland?
It's kind of weird to talk about on a podcast because it's so visual.
Yeah, it's mostly a visual thing. Go check it out, everyone.
Yeah, I like Banksy. I think everyone likes Banksy, and he's creating his own thing called Dismaland.
That he's actually charging admission to it. I don't know how I feel about that, because as an artist, yeah, he has to make money, but he's so anti-establishment and all that kind of thing, it kind of takes away from the purpose. And
Everyone...
Oh, whatever.
Everyone that's anti-establishment is establishment all the way.
Well, yeah, also, I mean, he's like... For the impact that he's had on the American art scene, he has not made nearly as much money as most, artists who become famous during their lives and start selling their work. So good for him. Make some money off of what you do. I'm all for it.
It's just sort of an interesting shift because, with the kind of guerrilla graffiti art that is necessarily free in public and, anyone can see it. But I guess if you're going to do bigger, more interesting, more complicated things at a certain point, you need funding.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and this is definitely more, this is less, just a flat art piece and more like an installation kind of thing.
It's almost like his own personally created and curated gallery.
Yeah.
I don't know. You ever see Exit Through the Gift Shop?
No.
No, you guys never seen that? That's the Banksy documentary about the artist. You never check out Exit Through the Gift Shop. It's a very good documentary.
And we'll talk about Dismaland in the next podcast after everyone.
It's more of a mockumentary, but
wait. Who's Banksy?
I thought that was my bank teller's name.
I have no transition.
That might make him very aggressive.
Your bad jokes make me angry. And you know what else does?
Jared scream Madden again. That's aggressive.
Remember when I screamed earlier? Well, that's probably because I was playing video games. And the American Psychological Association said that there is a link between violent games and aggression. A new study from them came out. Well, a study of them studying other studies.
Right, it was
pause. They didn't say there was a link.
It wasn't.
They said it was correlated.
Right.
So that doesn't mean the same thing.
And it wasn't a new study. It was a review of studies between 2005 and 2013.
It was a meta-analysis. Yeah.
Which is meta-lazy.
Oh, snap.
I think the bigger problem here is that they found that there were a number of contributing factors, and video games were one of them. But they decided to say that the recommendation here is that we need to review video games and none of the other factors.
Well, and I think that, and the people who have been attacking this, I think a lot of interesting points have been brought up. Like you said, there are other contributing factors. It looks like the competitive nature of the video game is more important to how aggressive it makes the player than whether the video game is violent. It just so happens that a lot of violent video games are like multiplayer, first-person shooters and stuff like that. And
I hate to tear down the pro video game side, But I was also disappointed that their strong argument was, well, the Supreme Court said they're not violent, so they can't be violent. That's actually, as much as I love law and the Supreme Court, they're not a panel of scientists.
Well, right, but if you read a little further, they weren't saying the Supreme Court says. They were specifically quoting something from the, Supreme Court opinion that was talking about the science.
Well, I know. I mean, I read that opinion inside and out. I mean, I
Right.
did one of my senior theses on that opinion.
Right. But I mean, I agree. It would have been more powerful to just talk about the science than to say, well, the Supreme Court, because, they're not scientists.
I mean, I think the problem, I have a couple problems with all of this, actually.
Do tell.
And with all of you. And with all of
everyone.
you.
Yes. I have a lot of problems. No, I'm gonna basically.
Bitch ain't one.
I'm gonna turn into Justin about Madden. So,
Madden!
my one problem, is that everyone is like,
I want to pause you for a second. Jared, this obviously doesn't have to be in the podcast because we're going to use it. But next week's previously on is just going to be the clip of you and then I screaming Madden.
Let's not prejudge.
Jason's like, I'll probably say something. Then,
We don't know what I'm going to say next.
Wait, hold on. Give me another chance. Guys, hold on. Just don't make any decisions yet. I got something coming.
So my one thing, like I mentioned before, is that like correlation it means something different colloquially than it does in a scientific study.
Well, right.
And so, saying that there is a correlation is just sort of like a very general thing. Like, hey, these things might be related or not. I don't know. Looks like they might be. We should probably look into this. And the second thing is when I was reading the Kotaku article where the guy was trying to tear down, any arguments. Seriously? Sorry, Justin is being terrible. Please edit that out.
No, leave in Justin being terrible. The people need to know.
People need to know that Justin is terrible. Oh my god.
Hey there, Pixel Perfect.
Cutting that out.
You can fix it in post.
No, but, the Kotaku article basically read to me like somebody who is completely unfamiliar with research methods for psychology. Because he was like, how do they even know what aggression is anyway? This is ridiculous.
It's important to explain that the Kotaku article was arguing that the American Psychological Association had failed in some
right,
regard.
that they had failed completely and that, like, any intimation that video games were correlated to aggression was just false, and also what is aggression anyway, and meta-analysis is ridiculous. The article just read to me like somebody who was generally unfamiliar with psychological research.
Well, I think it did make at least
frustrating.
one decent point that none of the studies in the meta-analysis were longitudinal, meaning they only measured an increase or a correlation in aggression in the time immediately after you play the game. So, they don't even know if 15 minutes later it's gone.
I agree about that 100%, but that wasn't even the thrust of the article, though.
Well, and also
that was just like something they said it's like a broken clock kind of thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Good, you said something that
I
made
agree
sense.
with you that like their attempt to take down this like serious scholarly work was a little lacking, but I think they made a couple good points. That was one, and also about how well, here I can just look at it instead of trying to remember.
No cheating.
Yeah, right. No, it's gone forever. It's how they left out a study, a 2014 study that showed that completely contradicted a lot of the results that they were relying on.
I mean, I think for me, I find that generally, like, it's weird because actually I do sort of side-eye the idea that, okay, well, we're going to take this possible correlation with short-term aggression, and we're going to say, hey, let's look at violent video games and blah, blah, blah. Because I don't feel like we're actually studying the appropriate thing to make any kind of determination about violence in video games or violent media. My concern would be more like, okay, we're consuming media that is vastly more violent than it used to be, definitely. And that's in TV, that's in movies, that's also in video games. And I wonder if that desensitizes us and makes us feel like violence is more of a viable solution to problems. But, when we're just talking about aggression, that has nothing to do with what my actual concerns as a parent are. So.
Well, I mean, I think there's definitely an argument that the more you're exposed to horrific violence, the less it affects you. But, I think we also greatly underestimate people's ability to just, I mean, obviously children have, just psychologically a difficulty with it. But most people, they know, it's just a movie, it's just a game versus, real life.
Oh, sure.
Also, back in the 1800s, like, people dueled each other for fun and stuff. I don't know. We as a species were a lot more violent when our media was a lot less violent. So I wonder if putting it into...
We don't watch public hangings
Right, so I
anymore.
wonder if putting it into that fantasy realm, like, because we have these Grand Theft Autos where you can go and commit whatever creative crimes you can think of, you don't feel any kind of need to do it in real life.
I feel like that's a problem, though. Like that whole idea that, like, I can just come home and pretend to shoot people, so I don't go out and really do it.
Well, everyone gets angry. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've never felt that way.
Yeah,
I've never felt like, oh man, God, it feels so good to release my anger in this video game.
And that's the problem, is that's how the media paints gamers in that light, is that gamers are these people that they go home and they think, man, I just really want to shoot somebody, so I'm going to do it in this video game so I don't go out and do it in real life.
I mean, hey,
also,
I'm not gonna lie. I've definitely, I mean, Red Faction Guerrilla might be one of my favorite games of all time, because I would definitely go, you know what? It was a long day. I'm going to break stuff, and then boot it up and pull out the sledgehammer and just like...
There's a huge difference between saying, I want to take a sledgehammer to a lamppost. That would be the equivalent
like saying
to
like you're playing the Lego games.
Yeah, like the equivalent of what you said, though, would be like saying, Red Faction Guerrilla, man, I came home from a tough day and I just really want to blow up a building. But I'm not going to do it in real life because I can do it in Red Faction Guerrilla.
That is not what I was saying.
I mean?
What I was saying is that, look, man, people have violent impulses because we're all animals, and there is a definite downward trend in violent crime over the past 20, 30 years. And over that period of time, what is one of the things that has also become more and more common? Video games. I'm not saying, it's a correlation, and as Terry pointed out, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but, it still exists.
I'm still with you. I understand, and I agree there are people out there. I'm not trying to dismiss it. I'm just saying I don't think that's a common.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm glad we got to this point, Jason, because this podcast has actually been a gigantic ruse for all of us to come together and discuss your anger issues. And I want you to know that we love you.
Red Faction Guerrilla has had enough.
We're here for you. And Red Faction Guerrilla, just you need to go easy. You just got to let it go.
Nobody understands me.
My biggest problem with all this, I'm just tired of the video game industry constantly trying to defend this. Just let it go. Who cares what the APA says? Just ignore it. Just go on. Talk about other stuff. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, because everybody knows we're art, so just talk about that.
Yeah, please bring that up more. Those are my favorite things. Like, are video games art? Do video games make you violent? It's like, can we just stop talking about this stuff?
I love Jared's voice for the masses.
Yeah, because they're stupid. People are stupid. Let me tell you about how people are stupid.
Everyone listening to this podcast, stupid.
You're all stupid. You're all drones. And you're listening to us, which makes it even worse.
Sheeple. You're all sheeple.
You're all the worst.
Oh, no. See, now I have to quit the website because you said sheeple.
I can edit that out.
No, what I was going to say earlier,
we'll fix
what
that
happened
in
to
post.
just raw? Why is it all of a sudden everything Justin says gets fixed in post, but everything else is raw?
I don't know, Justin.
we just edit Justin out of the post completely.
He introduces himself in the beginning, and that's the last you hear of him.
Yeah, no more Justin.
Hey, everybody,
bye.
this is Justin.
No, what I was going to say, though, is that, like, upon thinking about my gaming habits, which are weird and not like the average gamer.
Yeah, it's really weird. She plays with her teeth.
No, I mean,
My controllers have bite marks all over.
I'm one of those people where like I like a couple games and I will play them for a long period of like
of minutes.
No. It's like I will spend like 8 hours for a day for like 3 days playing these games, and then I won't play for months. But I become extremely aggressive at the video games across the board. Like, I love God of War, and I am very aggressive and shouty and sweary and rage quitty when I play God of War, but I also am the same way when I play Mickey's Castle of Illusion. So, you know, American Psychological Association, I guess, just do what you want with that.
I think like studies, yeah, I think that's a good point, because studies don't take into these kind of studies, they act like everybody's the same, and they're not. Like, I've never really gotten upset at a game. It takes a lot for me to even get angry at anyone under any circumstance.
Except for me,
I've said some really bad things to Mickey Mouse and Mickey's Castle of Illusion. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I mean, it's a lot like God of War, so I get it.
It's extremely similar to God of War, definitely.
No, Jared, you are a pretty docile person.
Yeah, it just takes a lot for me to get upset, and I personally don't feel like any of this... I mean, I agree with Jason's statement that you do become desensitized to violent things the more and more you consume violent media or other violent things in your life. I think that can absolutely happen, but I don't think that stuff like this, these studies are almost... I think they're almost a waste, because they don't take into account the different personalities and like the actual human factor of it all, where... You know, like, I would never get mad at God of War even if it was screwing me up, but Teresa obviously does. Like, we're two completely different people. This study, like, it in no way accounts for something like that.
Well, and I think
the only reason I married Teresa was because she was just like you.
And I think one of the biggest problems of this study, though, is what Terry was saying. It doesn't really get to the question that people really care about. People don't care if video games make you a little aggressive. Like, a lot of things make you more aggressive. You know, getting into an argument over, you know, how much sugar to put in your cookie recipe might make you aggressive. But, you know, the real question
Jason, we really need to talk about your anger issues.
Was very specific.
It was a horrible example, because I was like, I'm just going to think of something on the fly. It'll be great. Oh, God, I don't have anything.
I actually, quick side note to interrupt you real quick. I actually know a couple who got... divorced because they disagreed on something about like making macaroni and cheese. That's kind of where it all started, and then they ended up getting divorced by the end of the week.
There you go. So it was a good example after all.
I specifically asked you not to share that story.
No, but the real question I think people care about is, you know, will playing video games make someone who isn't predisposed to violence? Will it make someone predisposed to violence more or less likely to commit a violent crime? You know, that's what we really care about. You know, no one telling me that a video game makes me more aggressive right after I play it. I think I agree with the Kotaku guy. It's kind of meaningless. You know, what I really want to know is, what is the effect on a human being's mind from playing specific kinds of video games, and can it have an effect?
I guess, but then the problem is, like, so you're asking for a longitudinal study where we have children start playing violent video games and then see if they want to become terrorists. Like, that's... I'm not going to sign my daughter up for that study.
Well, no, but you could say, you know, take 20-somethings with a history of violent crime and see if, you know, over the period of 2 years, whether... You know, people who sit down and play a violent video game once, you know, 3 times a week versus people who sit down and play Viva Pinata 3 times a week. You know, who commits more crimes in the long run?
I just want to put it out there. Viva Pinata is an extremely frustrating game.
It's also actually kind of violent now that I think about it. Like, one of the first things they make you do in the tutorial is have one animal eat another animal that you just named.
Well, you beat stuff with shovels to death, and you're basically... growing this farm up so you can sell them to kids who are just going to beat them till they're dead. So it's a pretty dark game.
I mean, that's kind of what farming is generally.
No,
I feel like
no. What farm do you go to? I've never
the
seen
farm where you grow plants to cut them down, and you know, raise animals to slaughter them, just like the piñatas that you raise to sell to be killed.
Yeah, but not by the people that are consuming
them. Or to be, like, bludgeoned to death
okay.
by a
So
shovel.
in our modern society where there's a level of
slaughterhouses
and meat wholesalers in between you and the farm, that makes it completely different.
You're going to very different birthday parties than I am, Jason.
Well, we don't believe in piñatas. We believe in real animals filled with candy. It's pretty breathtaking.
We've got this live cow here, and we're gonna serve you burgers as soon as you kill it.
As soon as we beat the candy out of it.
Oh man, no,
Party doesn't start until I get a Snickers.
This all kind of reminded me of a while back. I think it was when Battlefield was coming out. So
That's a game,
a few
right?
years ago. It was DICE. One of the developers at DICE was like, hey, so we're not even going to give you the option to shoot civilians in this game because we know that if you give a video game player the option to do the right thing or the wrong thing, they will inherently choose the wrong thing. So we just decided to get the wrong thing out so that you can't even do it because we know you'll do it.
Well, which, number one, is totally true. I mean, who hasn't gone like, well, I beat the level, I'm going to go back and replay it, and you know what, I already lost, so I'm going to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, real talk. In Fallout New Vegas, when I first saw a kid, first thing I tried to do is shoot that little dick in the head.
But I think that that one study that they left out of the meta-analysis spoke directly to this, and it actually found that doing things like that in games actually makes people more sensitive to moral, decision making and to right and wrong, rather than what you would think, which is if you go around, shooting civilians in a video game, it makes you more likely to think that that's okay in real life. It turns out that the opposite is true. So, that DICE guy was, in trying to protect us from ourselves, he was actually making the problem worse, which isn't that always the case?
Yep.
Amen.
All I can tell you is this. I've been playing Batman Arkham Knight for like a month now, and I'm also parading around the town at night like a vigilante.
Yeah, you're sneaking around Strongsville and you're with your underpants on the outside.
I'm in Nashville.
Oh, that's right. There's a lot more crime in
drives
Nashville.
back.
I actually drive around the town in my underpants.
Oh, that just reminds me of the Batman guy who got hit on the freeway.
Oh, no.
Oh, we can't end it with that. Jason!
And Jason ruins it again.
Anyone have anything else to say about why we're all violent killers?
The only other thing I have to say about it is also kind of a downer, so I don't know.
Go for it.
Alright, so studies have shown that access to pornography is correlated with a decrease in rapes. Therefore, access to violent video games might correlate to a decrease in violent crime.
I was kind of hoping you were going to be like, I have to end this on a downer. So actually, studies have shown that pornography leads to, I killed your grandmother.
Well, Ted Bundy, was it Ted Bundy or whoever, in that last interview he did, said he was addicted to pornography, and he associated that to why he became a serial killer or something. So there you go, guys. How about that fact?
Right. Not only will video games make you kill people, but porn will too. There is nothing you can do that won't make you
The point
into
is
a murderer.
nothing affects you, everybody. Do whatever you want.
Let's
nothing
end this
matters.
with a depressing fact off. Ready, go.
And with that, that was episode 3 of the Grown Up Geek Cast.
Oh, that was episode. What was the first?
You weren't
episode?
part of the
I thought
first
last
episode.
week
We
was the
didn't
first
invite
episode.
you. to the
Yeah,
first
it was an
episode.
E3 2015 episode.
Oh, that's right. I was on vacation or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You weren't. No, you just weren't invited.
Yeah, you were on vacation, Jason. That's what happened.
No, I was in Vermont. I got lots of cheese and maple syrup.
I'm
It was
sure
delightful.
you were.
It was at
Jason,
one of those parties where you beat up a cow and hope for some candy.
It was the best.
Hey, find us at thegrownupgeek.com. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We got a YouTube account. We are on iTunes now, so if you like to listen to podcasts on iTunes, you can subscribe through that. We will be on any of your favorite podcast catchers or
just on
RSS
any.
feed
We'll
getters.
be on any of your favorite podcasts. Just listen.
Just tell us what they are, and we will
We'll be
get
on.
there.
We'll get there. If you want to send us any feedback or any topics, you can email us podcast@thegrownupgeek.com. And
please do. It's easier than coming up with topics ourselves.
And don't forget that starting on September 1st, if you haven't already started reading it, if you want to be part of our book club podcast, you're going to want to read Armada by Ernest Cline. We will begin the formal reading period for that on September 1st, and the podcast will come out.
What is this, Oxford? We will begin the formal reading period.
I'm getting my powdered wig out, so that's what's up.
Yeah. There's a problem with this?
You're not allowed to start reading it until the formal reading period.
No, that's what I was saying.
Well,
you can start reading it, but if you're reading it, write down your questions, comments, anything like that. And as we get closer to the recording date for that podcast, we'll be sure to tell you where you can send that stuff, and we will bring it up in the discussion.
Podcast over.
Podcast over. And just leave it on that.
Yay!
Hey, Jason clapped again. It's definitely over.
Oh, full circle.